Juicy fruit is gonna move ya. It tastes so soft, it goes right through ya. Juicy fruit, the taste that's gonna move ya. Well, guys, yeah, it's finally here. I honestly, when I started this retrospective series, because of getting this, I started this retrospective series to celebrate me getting the complete collection pack of Futurama. Thinking, it's over, we're done. Had a great finale, beautiful send off, we're done. Just to find out that a few years later they would end up bringing it back again for us again, a different way again. So, without further ado, I started talking, and I always kept pushing the last part of this retrospective back because, I don't know, I just did not want to have to dig into a negative video on Futurama. I didn't want to look through the worst episodes and the really bad ones they have, so I kept pushing and pushing and doing the other ones first. But, no more waiting, no more delaying. Now, I don't really have a choice in the matter. The new Futurama season is going to come out in literally, no joke, a few hours as of this video going up. So I have no more excuses, no more delaying. I got to get this done now before the new season comes out and there's more stuff to talk about. So without further ado, let's jump into the final part of the Futurama retrospective. Let's see the top 7, in my opinion, worst Futurama episodes. And if any of you guys are wondering why top 7 in all of these rankings, because, I don't know, you figure it out. Now let's start.
Oh, dear God!
I'm just messing with you, kid. You're all right. That's some face you got, though. I think they got a cream for that.
Yeah, I'll say this right now so you guys don't get surprised later. I am not a fan of Flexo at all. I've never liked him as a character, never understood what the point of him was. I mean, I get it. Futurama clone, that's a bit different, I got it, but, in the terms of Bender, he's a clone of Futurama's Bender. But there's not much to him. I never cared for him, never really did anything for me. And whenever I see an episode with him, it always ends up going to some pointless story that was always just a throwaway, or ends up just doing nothing, and the story ends up being for nothing. The only reason why this one gets way low on the list, like only number 7, is because the opening for this episode is incredible. I love the opening. The opening when they fly into a place that Fry's so familiar with, and it's something he used to have, and we get to see the way this stuff was through his perspective, showing it to his friends that don't know anything about this stuff, is really fun. The opening is so good, and a part of me always screams out, why couldn't that have just been the episode? Why couldn't it have just been a story revolving that place and him maybe getting obsessed with it, and he starts living there even though it's illegal and they keep trying to kick him out, and the friends have to make him realize you can't just stay in this place. I would have really hoped that it just focused on that, but instead we went from that and skipped to another story that still was okay. I didn't mind the whole crown and robbery and was it him or not. That was also pretty fine, which is another reason why it's only number 7. Love the opening. The rest is just downhill and kind of boring to me from then. But it's a average episode, so I think it fits number 7.
Oh, dear God! Oh, poor baby. Chipped a fang. Oh.
Hey, I got a busted ass here. I don't see anyone kissing it.
All right, I'm coming.
But geez, no joke. I actually, when starting this video, I actually thought that this episode was going to be way higher up the list. No joke. I thought it was going to be like a number 3 or 4 spot at least. But then I watched the rest of the series, and yeah, the rest of the episodes I saw later ended up being way worse than this one, and it made this one look okay in comparison. I always hated this episode when I was a kid growing up. I think that's why I assumed it was going to be way higher. Because when I was a kid growing up, I hated this episode. I never liked when it came on TV. It was always one of my most hated due to the fact that I just hate that the episode is, Nibbler's being an ass. And then when Bender finally snaps because nobody else will do anything about it, the rest of the episode is him forced to just be Leela's bitch, basically, and just suffer through her to do whatever she wants. I just found it dumb, and it's one of those episodes where it's about topics of, oh, we're going to manipulate this person, or he's forced to do something like this. I've never enjoyed those episodes, and this was always a hated one of mine. It's one of the many episodes I point to when I talk about how annoying Leela can be as a character sometimes. And yeah, but I was impressed to see that compared to everything else I watched for this list, it was actually pretty tame in comparison to what came next. And even became, this episode, no joke, even started to become enjoyable to me as I saw the other ones. I went, oh wow, okay, this one at least had more. And we had a fun little side note of a little hint towards Leela's backstory later, which was also cool for setup. So yeah, this one is number 6, and yeah, pretty reasonable. Also, by the way, a little side note, while researching for this list, I actually was pretty shocked to find out that there was 2 seasons of the show, to me, that never had one dud of an episode, and that was season 1 and 4. Season 1 is just perfect the whole way through, as a perfect start, and season 4 is just perfect. Every single episode is amazing in that season. And no joke, season 4 is my most watched season out of the whole show. I have watched season 4 over and over in my DVD pack so many times. It's my most watched season. So, a little tidbit before we move on. If you guys are super into the show and have a really big knowledge on it, like, several other fans do, then, little fun note for you guys to keep with you throughout the rest of this video. No episodes at all from season 1 or 4 will be on this list, because season 1 and 4 are just perfect the whole way through, and season 4 is my favorite season. Alright, now let's get to the next one.
Oh, dear God!
We can't have an arsonist in our midst. We can have 4 idiots and a fat guy, but no arsonists.
Yet another episode I actually had ranked way higher originally, but then moved as I watched more. This episode was originally in the number 4 slot, but then I saw another episode that was just a bit worse than it, and they ended up swapping. No joke, this went from number 4 to just, let's put you up to a 5. And that's only because this episode, the reason why this one's so bad is because it's just annoying. I always point to this episode whenever I want to explain to friends or family about how the post-movie seasons just felt different from when the show first started. This season is that to a T. All the characters act different and unrealistic. Fry is the most different I've ever seen him. In this episode, he doesn't act a thing like how his character is. Very dumb, very just brain dead, and even when he sees the truth and everything, a person who has always defended Bender, and always, even knowing what Bender could do and stuff, gets to the point where he outright despises Bender and acts like a prick to him the rest of the episode, even though he's telling the truth. I mean, I get it. I can see the writing on why, but that's not how Fry would act. Fry is very close to Bender, very there for him, and even if he did feel kind of betrayed and then saw the truth after, he would immediately believe him after he saw the truth and right away help him and go like, yeah, see, I knew you couldn't have done that to me. Just very unrealistic, and this episode feels like it was written by people who have never seen the show in their life. This episode feels weird, off, and like the people who wrote it didn't know what Futurama was or who any of these characters were. And that's why it gets the number 5 spot. Now let's take a look at what bumped it up to there.
Oh, dear God!
Sinners! Robosexuality is an abomination.
Boy, this guy.
The good book saith a robot shall not lie down with a human.
This entry, just so you guys know, I don't care about other races, sexes, interests, stuff like that. They can do whatever they want for all I care. This isn't an attack, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you know, that usual shit. Alright, with that dumb stuff out of the way, yes, this one ended up bumping the last entry to 5 and taking the number 4 slot, only because, I don't know, man, I've never, ever given 2 shits about overly pushy episodes. Episodes where the whole point of it is just to bitch about something or just to point out something in society or things like that. I've never cared. You're here to just relax, have fun, and be entertained. That's the whole point. So whenever an episode gets really bitchy or goes, we need to talk about how this isn't right, or we need to do an episode. And that's the thing. I've seen episodes in other shows before where they do it in such a good way where it fits the story and even becomes part of the show, and it fits so well and makes you think more. I've seen that several other shows, but this one was not one of those. There's a difference between telling a lesson and teaching something and just bitching. And this one is just bitching. And by that I mean, like, if you want to touch on it and do a little bit of symbolism to it and a little bit of looking at this issue, that's fine. Mix it in, make sure it works. But when you're doing nothing but just, basically in other terms, yelling it over the rooftops, where the entire episode is just, no man, fuck it, that bad. Oh no, everything's fucking horrible because they don't approve of this thing. Like, when you do that, it just becomes bitching. That's it. It just becomes yelling into your pillow, yelling at some random person that really doesn't care about the stuff and is A-okay with it, and just screaming at you. Maybe saying that for this entry is a bit over the top. Maybe, the fact that it's also just a badly written episode with characters just doing bad shit that doesn't represent them or make sense towards them, just like the last entry, but to 10 times worse, is also bad. So yeah, this episode is a bit pushy for me, but also, even without that in mind and looking at it as just a regular episode of Futurama, it doesn't work. Bender acts really weird in this one. Amy pulls some whole stupid plot with leaving Kif and stuff that doesn't even make sense towards her character and Kif. And they end up just, once again, pulling the characters out of their elements, giving them to somebody who feels like they've never watched the show in their life, and just doing some sort of weird thing that just doesn't fit Futurama. And that's why it gets the 4th spot, and ended up being a bit more different, unrealistic than the last entry, and ended up saving that one a bit.
Oh, dear God!
Did I already mention how I do not like the character Flexo at all, and how I hate all their episodes? Yeah, this one should come as no surprise if you remember that from the 7 entry. But the only difference is with that one and this one, why this one is way worse and way down there, is due to the fact that this episode literally feels like nothing. This episode feels like such a throwaway. I'm not even kidding, like the entire episode is, alright, thanks. Bender gets to this one girl he likes. Now let's just throw that away and just treat it like it was a joke. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, the entire episode is just Bender's with somebody, won't accept the fact that she doesn't just like him, the end. Won't accept the fact that, hey, even that stunt you pulled on her to prove it, just prove that she likes you for who you are despite who you are, but he won't accept it. I don't know, it just feels like a bullshit episode. It feels like, alright, let's create a storyline that we know is bullshit, just spend the entire runtime just showing how much bullshit it is, until it just breaks apart and becomes a throwaway watch. It's dumb, it's stupid, there's nothing to it, no reason to watch it, no impact, no fun storyline. I mean, hell, even the last episode with Fluxo had that amazing opening with the place Fry takes them to, and the really fun kind of mystery storyline of the robbery and the tiara, but this one has nothing. This episode literally feels like a writer in the writing room just caused a scene and caused his girlfriend to leave him, and now wants to vent about it for an episode. It's weird, it's uncomfortable, and feels like a nothing. You could literally skip this episode watching the series, and nobody would give 2 shits. You could skip this, and you won't miss a damn thing. It's literally that much of a throwaway.
Oh, dear God!
Not cool, bro.
You know what? You can say what you want about this entry being as high up as it is. I mean, I'd be shocked if nobody else who likes Futurama didn't have this episode as first or second. Like, those places seem the only places it deserves. This episode is beyond garbage. Like, it's so uncomfortable and so dumb. The entire episode feels like, alright, for this episode only, we're going to make the guy sexist, which was never a thing, but okay, sure. And by that I mean it was never this level. Fry was always sweet, kind, and always treated Leela like an equal and like anybody else he would. That was never a problem. Bender's the same thing. Bender never was that much either. He even treated Leela with respect and like the badass she is. It's so weird. This also feels like another episode where they went, you know what? Things are changing. Somebody in the writer's room is bitching about some sort of thing happening online right now. We need to do an episode that just addresses it. And that's why it doesn't work. When you make an episode, like I said in my one entry, just to bitch about something and just to whine instead of telling a fun, good story, then no one's going to give a shit about the lesson in the end. The lesson's going to fall on deaf ears if the story ends up being just pushy and annoying. And this episode goes far beyond that. Like, I don't know who wrote this episode, but whoever wrote this episode, dude, fucking take a step back and breathe. Like, Jesus Christ, it literally feels like somebody just came in reading some weird article online that made them feel all empowered and they were big, and then decided to just dump it out through their ass on a script of paper. Like, dude, relax. This episode actually was going to be number one, but there was just one episode of Futurama that I think many would agree far surpasses this one and was way more, deserving of being shown than this one. But to end off my notes on this episode, really different, really weird. We have all the Futurama cast just being erased, rewritten to just be, hey, we're blank, dumbass jocks, the end. And nothing of Futurama is in this episode. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't play like one. The characters all act like they've been brainwashed by somebody to be something else. And then the whole story plot just seems uncomfortable. Even that ending just seems weird. So, yeah, this episode, I'm not even kidding. I would even put this at number one if I could. But there was another one that was worse. And any of you out there who puts this episode number one, or puts this episode anywhere, below the 2 slot, you better have a really good explanation why, because this is, whoa.
Magnify that death sphere. Why is it still blurry?
That's all the resolution we have. Making it bigger doesn't make it clearer.
It does on CSI Miami.
And now, lastin', but not leastin', the worstin' episodin' of the showin'. Oh. Do I need to explain why this one is number one? Do I genuinely need to? I mean, anyone who's a Futurama fan and has eyes could see why this episode is so shit. Let's not even bring up the fact that there's the whole censor plot and the censor creature censoring things. Alright, that's already weird. But I mean, the whole thing with Leela and Zap, especially after we just established Fry and Leela as a thing now, is just so stupid. I cannot imagine anyone thinking that was a good idea. I cannot imagine any writer from the original team thinking, you know what, yeah, we should do an episode where Leela gets coaxed into banging Zap again, even though she's in a relationship happy and even though she has her own life and she hates Zap. That sounds like a damn good episode. You know what, yeah. Everyone's been wanting that since the start. No, plot twist news, we haven't. Nobody's been wanting that from the start. Okay, man? We always know Zap's been the dumbass one that Leela would never want to be. We always know that this is something that should never happen. And after you finally start a story plot that people have been wanting since the beginning of the show, Fry and Leela being a cute, loving couple that actually cares for each other, just to piss it out with your own bile fucking piss, for no reason at all that wasn't necessary, makes it beyond horrible. So yeah, that's why it's the number one spot. I think anybody else could agree with me why that's the number one spot. Jesus Christ. Oh. Yeah, okay, I need to do a quick palate cleanser after all that shit. So with that in mind, I am going to Oh shit, yeah, I gotta go. I am going to check out the new season of Futurama, see how good it is. Hopefully it's good. Maybe it's shit. But I gotta go, alright? I'm not even kidding. Like, it's already time. I gotta go. The new episode of Futurama, well, new season of Futurama is coming out real soon. So, bye guys. Thanks for watching. I gotta go.